How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. Today I'm going to be doing a little retrospective on Revelry. I know I'm super late to this, but I just wanted to really sit on what Bungie did really for a seasonal event. So just up front, just to do a little housekeeping. The music that's going to be playing in the background is some stuff from Red Means Recording. I take no credit for any of the awesome beats that you're going to hear. That is all from them. I encourage you to check out their music if you do dig it. They are on Bandcamp and on YouTube as well. Also, for today's loadout, we're going to be using Arbalest, Wizened Rebuke, my baby roll with a firmly planted in rangefinder, my favorite gun right now, as well as a Crooked Fang that I recently got with a range masterwork, opening shot, box breathing, targeting adjuster, and the relevant armor pieces. And of course, we're rocking extra fusion for maximum fusion. So let's just kind of go into it. But first and foremost, I want to express that I liked the Revelry. I liked it quite a bit. And, you know, just to sort of preface my opinions moving forward, Destiny is actually my first FPS that I really took seriously. There were a lot of times before when I would play Halo at my friend's house and stuff like that. But that was, I never owned the game, and I haven't really owned any other shooters aside from Destiny 1 and then moving into Destiny 2. And so most of my gaming experience actually comes from RPGs, and the one that took up most of my time really before Destiny came around was DC Universe Online. And one of the things that kind of stuck with me from DC Universe was the seasonal events. If you've played or if you've seen any videos about it, there's a lot of events that happen throughout the year. I believe during Christmas time, there's the Orange Lantern, who represents avarice, that goes around stealing people's Christmas gifts and whatnot. And you have to go around the public spaces in order to prevent them from prevent the theft from happening, stuff like that. And the public spaces would then be populated by all these little public events that would be going on concurrently, and you would have objectives that you would work towards in order to net you some seasonal loot. During the summertime, there would be an event with Aquaman actually, where his relevant villains would come out of the ocean, and you'd have to actually go out into the water and find the ships where they're having war. And it's this sort of thing where you're kind of jumping into an event that's happening around you. And I think that that's kind of where Bungie gets it a little right and a little wrong, in terms of doing the seasonal event with the Revelry. Just because Eva Levante comes to the tower and she says, we humans, we have a celebration. It's a celebration of life. And we, every time the spring rolls around, we like to celebrate that we're still here and we're still breathing. Very much so in contrast to the spirit of what was it? It wasn't the Dawning. It was the Halloween event. I'm totally blanking on it right now, but yeah, it's in complete contrast to what they do for the Halloween event, where they remember those who are fallen. It's a celebration of the fact that we're still here. And I think one of the things that I really wanted to see more from this public event was really just oh jeez. Okay. Yeah. What I really wanted to see more from this public event was really any sort of way that brings us closer to, you know, the people that exist in this world, you know, outside of us, because you know, like, while we are the main characters or whatever, like, while we are the guardians that protect the city, you know, I think it's something very difficult that we haven't really touched upon, to, you know, see the people that we are actually, you know, trying to defend. You know, there's always talk from Zavala about how we should, how we should, you know, focus on the city and, you know, focus on the last breaths of humanity or whatever. And it's just one of those things where it's like, we don't really see them. Like, we don't really see the folks that we're trying to protect. And I think the Revelry was the first real step towards acknowledging that, yeah, they exist, and they exist, and we should you know, hold them in our hearts or whatever, and, you know, like, we should feel some sort of dedication towards these people that have been driven to the brink of extinction. And I think that's something that's very tough, considering, you know, like, it's our whole place, like the play space and the gameplay loop. It's all sort of based around the ideas of wanting to, oh jeez, God, man. It's all kind of based around the idea of wanting to, you know, feel powerful. And, you know, like, it's been said multiple times where it's just like, if, you know, if an expansion isn't fun, then, you know, it isn't worth it, kind of thing. Where I think, in the spirit of that, it's sort of like, if there's not enough space magic, I think, is the attitude that we're kind of taking on here. It's, if there's not enough space magic, is it really worth it? Ah, jeez. And so that's, you know, that's one thing that I think could be improved upon in future iterations of the Revelry. But, well, yeah, actually, now saying it out loud. See, even though I've had all this time to think about it, ah, jeez, like, I still have so many thoughts about the event, really, that just kind of, you know, I don't know, you know, like, it's, and, like, when you really, oh jeez, when you really think of it, like, it's hard to kind of craft the kind of thing that I'm trying to express here, where it's just like, okay, like, how do you express that, you know, you want to, like, how do you express the idea of having a whole community of people, you know, like a whole culture, a whole folks that you need to protect. Like, how do you, where does that fit in a world where, Jesus Christ, come on, where does that fit in a world where, like, we are an archetype of person that will just do anything blindly? Like, if you're a follower of lore, you'll know that, oh geez, nice. If you're a follower of lore, like, you'll know that there have been certain studies conducted that basically profile guardians as people who are the knight errant character type. Oh jeez. But yeah, the term that is used is knight errant, which will be familiar for folks who are hunters and have seen the set of armor. But basically, it's just folks that'll do anything that is quote unquote right as long as they're told it's right, kind of thing. Yeah, it's just it. Oh wow, he actually died to that. But no, yeah, like, and I think that's something that's hard to sort of try to address, particularly in a seasonal event, because it's, you know, it's something that has to be repeatable. But I think the genius that kind of comes in with you know, thinking about whatchamacallit, with DC Universe, which is, you know, why I brought it up initially in the first place, is that, you know, that is that game world is also a type of space where, you know, you're a type of person that wants to do what's right simply because it is what you were told to do. So you don't necessarily know for sure that it's right. It's just, you know, what you want to do, like as a gamer, like you want to improve and get stronger, and the main way of doing so is by doing what's right. If you choose to be a hero, and if you choose to be a villain, it's, you know, doing what's wrong, obviously. But no, yeah, like, and that's why I like using the summer event as a sort of touchstone of what, you know, where we could improve upon as a, really, as, you know, as a game. Jesus Christ. Is that, like, we in DC Universe, you pick a side, and, you know, moving into Destiny 3, like, there is talks of, you know, having to choose a side, etc., etc. But I think it would get real interesting if at least now, like, considering we don't have oh jeez, considering we don't have factions and like faction wars and stuff like that, which is why, like, I would want that to be like a more consistent seasonal thing, if not like something that stays around. Is just that, you know, like, there is a sort of excitement with, you know, taking ownership over a decision that impacts the world around you. And in the case of DC Universe, like, it's in the context of, you know, the characters that are in the story. I just busted both my grenades right there. But yeah, you know, like, and it's, you know, it's really hard for me to kind of try to make sense of, you know, what it is I want and what it is I want to go for. But the thing that I like about the Revelry and that I want to see more of is, at the very least, having our decisions and our actions within the game, particularly when, you know, they reference the greater, you know, game space and the atmosphere that we, you know, that we live in, really, as, you know, as characters within the game. It's just that I want to see more impact from our choices and our decisions. So yeah, so that's pertaining to, you know, the context and the lore reasons of, oh geez, that's pertaining to the context and lore reasons of what I feel about Revelry. But going forward into, I guess, you know, the gameplay, I didn't mind. I honestly did not mind. Jeez, Jiminy Cricket. I honestly didn't mind it as much, at the very least, and by it I mean the nade spam and stuff. you know, pretty much like mayhem levels of, you know, action. I think that one of the reasons why it works in 4s, but it doesn't work in 6s in Destiny 2 is that 1, character movement is a lot different. 2, map design is still very much, you know, based on the 4v4 environment. And 3, the fact that of, you know, how our abilities are balanced. You know, back in D1, you know, fusion nades used to one-shot, and the only thing that's really close to that right now is arc web on a stormcaller with arc bolts. Or if you land like a really good pulse nade, like pulse nades are actually really good right now. You know, like I think like one of the things that Revelry actually made me miss a lot was sticky trip mines and being able to stick people. And I think that's something that, you know, like going from Revelry, like I think that's something that has to come back because of the fact that, you know, trip mines are weaker. And it's like having that fun little character moment of just, you're already like a gunslinger, you're throwing knives, and I think that having like that other thing that you could stick onto someone is just one of the most hilarious things you could add into the game. But yeah, no, in any case, there's also like the crazy builds around doing class ability spam. Like there were a couple builds out there floating around with centered around Kepri's horn. The Thor's hammer build was actually worthwhile because, you know, with the melee spam and whatchamacallit, the Dune Marchers, and then running the middle tree Sunbreaker, you could, you know, throw electric hammers everywhere. It was just one of those things where Revelry unlocked a lot of different possible loadouts for folks. And I think that in that regard, Revelry was successful. Like, I'm just gonna go ahead and, you know, say that right now, take it as a hot take or whatever, but Revelry was successful because of the fact that, you know, an event was able to mix up the gameplay loop for 3 weeks. And it wasn't even that one build was particularly dominant, because keep in mind, like, skip nades did not net you a win. It did not. Like, simple as that. And if you think it did, like, I'm not hesitant at all to express that if you think jeez, I didn't even see him. I was tripping over my words. If you think that during Revelry, having Shinobu fighting against the Shinobu's Vow is an automatic L, you aren't trying hard enough. You're not reaching out of your comfort zone far enough. And I think that's what we need to see more from our seasonal events. You know, I think one of the things that was so genius about the Halloween event was that, like, never let it be said that there are very few times where Guardians feel fear at the prospect of, you know, going into PvE. Like, that is a very rare thing. At the very least, like, for me, you know, outside of very recently, Trevor, there's nothing that I fear really, like, in the open world. But when that invincible knight pops up, like, you better bet your ass I'm running. Like, and that's a rare sensation that I think, you know, it changes up the sandbox in a way that brings you out of your comfort zone. And the thing that I like about that so much is that there's so many different facets to this game that only become unlocked. I'm dead here. They only become unlocked once you know, start reaching outside of them. And I think in that regard, at least talking about PvP, you know, Revelry was a success. And that's why I think so. You know, like we want to have ways of feeling powerful, and that's fine as a standard gameplay loop. You know, like that's good enough. That's just why some folks play video games, and oftentimes it's why we, you know, as a community, play video games. Jeez, that was just a one-shot body, wasn't it? But I think that that only stays interesting for so long. And by so long, I mean like a quarter, which is why I like the quarterly, you know, releases and stuff like that. Like I like having, you know, an event every so often, because it mixes up the sandbox. It shifts the focus away from the primary goal, and if that's bad for business, then, you know, I'll be the first to admit. Oh, jeez! Excuse me, pardon me, coming through! Jeez. Yeah, like, I think that any means of mixing up the standard gameplay loop of a live game like Destiny, at the very least for a short time, is a positive. Is a net will garner a net positive for the game at large. And whether that's, you know, making you feel fear in PvE, or it's, you know, getting you to change up your exotic picks for a couple of PvP matches. You know, like, it makes the game more interesting, it makes it feel fresh without having to change so much about the formula. Where did he just disappear to? Later. But yeah, what was I saying? Dang it! I've totally forgot. Later, dude. Jeez, I've totally forgotten. Double down. Excuse me. At this point, I'm just having a good game. But yeah. Anyways, so I guess overall thoughts on Revelry. It was good in that it was interesting. And I think that interesting is the bar that needs to be, you know, met for anything, any live thing that happens. The worst thing that a live event could be, or a live game could be, is boring. And when we are given different experiences, when we're given different experiences that allow us to play the game a different way, when there are a lot of elements that are fun and aren't necessarily as fully enjoyed and loved, you know, by the community, I think that's a good thing. I mean, like,
you're evenly matched.
But then again, also take this with a grain of salt, because I'm also coming from the place that I would love for there to be like weekends of laser tag, where it's, you know, like, hey, by the way, in PvP, all whatchamacallit, not linear, all trace rifles will have buff damage output. for the weekend of da 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 to da 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 da. You know, like I feel like that would be amazing, and also get people to play with those guns more. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy for, you know, for wanting something like that, but I just, you know, it's more invested and smarter people than I have talked about why we need more regular changes to the sandbox, whether it's for balancing reasons or just to keep things interesting. I think that, you know, at the very least, doing more seasonal events, or like more seasonal events of this nature, is a good way to go about doing that. But in any case, like, in whatever form that, you know, that takes in the future, like, I welcome it, and, you know, like, I want there to be those moments, more of those moments of intrigue where it's just like, yo, like, by the way, like, Shinobu's Vow is a thing right now, and it's only ever a thing during, well now, Revelry and Crimson Doubles. You know, like, how often do we pull those things out, you know, like Kepri's Horn, like, just in one exotic, like Kepri's Horn. When do you ever hear of that exotic in PvP? And that thing was getting kills, like, left and right.
30 seconds. It's not over.
So actually, like, if anything, one of the things that I would like to see is that if we were to move forward and actually have, like, more regular sandbox updates, I would want to say, like, okay, 1 month would be a sandbox update, and another would be, you know, an actual, whatchamacallit, like, an actual, like, seasonal event that, you know, gives us a reason to explore the new sandbox and the context with which we can enjoy it by, you know, like, it's
Every battle has a consequence.
I don't know. In that regard, like,
Sometimes
I just, you know, I just want there to be more stuff, more reasons to play differently. Because finding more reasons to play is the least of your worries when you have a game with this much depth and this much character, but no reasons to explore it all. And I think that's the crux of really what I want to express with this. So that's, you know, that's it for my thoughts. You know, feel free to let me know what you think below. If I got too long-winded, if I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, you know, feel free to, you know, jump in the comment section or hit me up on Instagram, Reginlad the Kid YT on Instagram. But yeah, this has been a gameplay with my Arbalest and my Wizened Rebuke, which I actually did better than I thought I would do, considering I was trying to juggle, you know, talking and doing that. Like, how? But yeah, whether you're here for the first time or the 5th time, I appreciate you stopping by my channel. You know, while I ramble and talk about, you know, all these things, Destiny, right before Season of Opulence comes up, you know, I hope from the bottom of my heart that my can't even do my outro right. I hope my scrubbery leads to your victory. Stay awesome, my friends. Peace out.